Holmdel Township Board of Education and Holmdel High School. This is now the public portion to begin the regular business meeting of the Board of Education. Welcome everyone who's here and everyone who's watching us streaming. We'd like now to have we finished executive session. Apologize when it was a little elongated for important reasons that you'll hear in a moment. We're now going to entertain a motion to return to public session, please.
Motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Wall,
Here.
Mr. Damari,
Here.
Mr. Reddy,
Here.
Dr. Kalur,
Here.
Mr. Buckley,
Here.
Mr. Lebecci,
Here.
Mrs. Lepresti.
Here.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to call the meeting to order. Meetings of the board are open to the public, and all members of the community should feel free to participate. There are two opportunities for the public to speak. The first is at the beginning of the meeting for agenda items only, and the second is at the end of the meeting for any item that's on your mind. Any individual desiring to speak shall give their name, address, and the group, if any, that's represented. Presentation should be as brief as possible, but if you can keep it to 3 minutes, that'd be appreciated. There are certain matters that may be brought before the board that can't be immediately addressed. They may be referred by the president to a board committee or the superintendent for consideration or further resolution. The board vests in the president or other presiding officer authority to terminate remarks of any individual if they're deemed in the best interest of those present to do so, and we don't expect that. May we all rise, please, for the flag salute. And after the flag salute, please, we're going to have a moment of silence for Richard Ratcliffe and Frank Sirkowski, two valued employees. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you kindly remain standing, please. Richard Ratcliffe was a night custodian. He'd been out on leave and was scheduled to retire in July. Frank Sirkowski, second SLEO, Special Law Enforcement Officer, hired and worked at Indian Hill until early 2022 when he left due to health reasons. We want to remember the folks that are part of the fabric of the community and the school district that we have here today. If we'd stand for a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much for standing in their honor. You may be seated. We'd like to now move to report of the superintendent, please. Dr. Cascone, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Wall. Just a brief report this evening. I'll just start with standard operating with the enrollment. The enrollment of Village School as of today, 826, Indian Hill, 622, Middle School WR Sats, 495, and High School, 965. So we successfully concluded the 2023-24 school year last week on Tuesday, June 18th. We conducted two beautiful graduation ceremonies that went extremely well. And just want to once again congratulate our Holmdel High School graduates, 50th graduating class, 50th commencement ceremony. It was a wonderful opportunity. We had alumni from the class of 1974 join us. They led the student professional. They joined the chamber singers, high school chamber choir in singing the alma mater. And it was a really nice moment for our community and, of course, to enhance the graduation ceremony. So we wish our graduates the best of luck. We wish our graduating middle school students the best of luck as they move up into high school, whether that's here in Holmdel High School or elsewhere, and all the students, moving up to new schools. And we wish everyone a safe and restful summer. I would also like to thank and send appreciation to our project graduation committee. Had the opportunity to visit the project graduation as I do annually with the high school administration. It was, again, an amazing event, just blown away by the countless hours that those volunteers spend to ensure that our students have a safe and fun way to kind of conclude their high school experience. So special thank you to them. And that is already booked for next year. And as Mrs. Brew is leaving her service to project graduation in the district, she's left that in good standing. Thanks to all of our parent groups and community organizations who have vowed to continue to fund that on an annual basis. So thank you to all of them. Obviously now we're after sort of a brief resetting. We're going to be focusing on all of the work that gets done over the summer. I want to thank in advance to our Buildings and Grounds Department. The ladies and gentlemen of that department worked tremendously hard during the summer, and what they accomplished in a relatively short amount of time is truly incredible. We have a number of not too many large scale projects, but we are doing some refurbishment to our gymnasiums at both SAT school and the high school, along with some other things as well. And following the 4th of July holiday, we will kick off our summer programs, and that's both our extended school year program for our special needs students, and we will once again be offering our summer step up program at Indian Hill School. So I look forward to visiting those programs, and just want to extend a word of thanks to our dedicated staff, who after what is always a very energy draining year are re-upping for another tour of duty, and on staff this summer helping out our students. So just with that, again, just to wish everyone the best for a fantastic summer, and we look forward to the upcoming school year. That is my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Cascone. Any board members, do you have any questions or comments on the report?
I got a quick one for you.
Thank you.
So Scott, that's the high school floor? If so, that's awesome. Because I can tell you the last time we did the high school floor was when Randy Westraw was the AD, which is a long time ago, because it still says Shore Conference on the, I know Bill Ogren probably knows. So that's a really good thing. And then the high school, if you're doing wrestling mats in the new multi-purpose room, that's awesome, because that was just an accident waiting to happen. So thank you for seeing that through. I think that will be good, so a wrestling kid doesn't fly into a brick wall and really hurt himself.
Both of those are on the docket. So
Thank you very much. I'd like to now move to the harassment, intimidation, and bullying report. And I just note these reports are very important, that all the districts across the state are required to do them. But this is all part of keeping our student community safe, and part of the dynamic and part of the discussions we have with administration is behavioral issues and threat assessments, and being proactive, not reactive, on issues that concern any child, any parent, anyone in the community. And this is part of that function, is looking at these files and rendering judgments on them, and making sure that they're properly investigated. And I could share, I've been on the board a couple of years, and it has evolved tremendously. I want to thank the administrative folks that are the gears that make this work, because ultimately it's all about the safety of the children. And that's part of some of the items that you see in these agendas in this district or any other district. So with that, Dr. Cascone, if you can, if you have an HIB report.
Thank you, President Wall. Just that I'm submitting into the record the report as presented to the board during closed executive session.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any questions, comments for the superintendent? Thank you. Okay, so now it's questions or comments from the public. It's on action items only. There'll be a second portion that'll be for any question or any comment at all. You'll notice if you have the copy of the agenda, there are over 100 different items that are being acted on tonight. That's a function of how boards reorganize, essentially. So it's really akin to state fiscal year, June 30th, July 1 to June 30th. So many of these items are appointments, professional reappointments, and things of that nature, the business of the board gearing up for the following year. So this portion is for any comment or any question that's on this agenda. I want to open up the mic to any folks who wish to come up and speak. And there will be a second portion that is for any comment at all. Seeing none.
Terrence, board members can comment
sorry?
too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Sorry.
no, I don't know about that. We'll have to check the bylaws. Let's see.
I had a few,
Yes.
Scott, for you, if you could, comments and questions. One would be on Schedule B. So obviously, this is usually the bigger month that we do for fall sports and non-athletic and athletic ones. In the future, since we have about 100 Schedule Bs, can we just total the bottom?
I just said that to him.
Just because, obviously budgets are tough, and I'm not saying to cut anything at all. I'm just so people have a wherewithal of how much we actually spend on athletic and non-athletic things. So that's one. In terms of action items, number 83, Athletic Training Services Company, just wanted to put a plug. They do a great job, and I know we outsource it. And then 84 is the weightlifting. So I think it's Dave Katz does the athletic training. Obviously knowing where our budget is, it would be great in future years if we could have that person be a full-time employee, because what could happen, just like we had Jeff a couple of years ago for our athletic trainer, who was awesome, who's in Freehold now, kids love him, but then they leave because that company can assign whoever they want to, just like Dave Katz eventually could get taken from us, and the kids really react to him. He gets the players back on the fields. very quickly. He saved the parents a lot of money by not having them have to go to doctors and rehab and different things. So just wanted to put a plug for that, those two. And the only question I always have is number 34, a one-day seminar for $2,000. I think it's Mr. Papalia. You don't have to answer that right now, but I'm just curious what that's for. That seems pretty
Yeah.
expensive for a one-day little thing down the Tom's River, whatever that might be, crisis intervention.
Which one are you looking at, Mr.
34? It was 34.
Yeah. Number 34?
Yeah, 34C, to be exact. I was just wondering. It was in Teaneck, not Tom's River, sorry. I
Right.
should have asked last week, but I.
So,
didn't.
no, that's okay. So, so Mr. Papali, you'll also notice on the agenda, this evening, Mr. Papali is being, appointed officially as the school security specialist. So in addition to this one workshop, he and Mrs. Lamogli are also attending a master trainer workshop, down in Maryland this summer, which is to basically, provide them additional training for presiding over our behavioral threat assessment teams. So this is the team that was put in place this year as per state statute. That when we have situations of sort of a critical student mental health situation, this is the team that comes together to assess that situation and determine what the appropriate course of action is. So though it is pricey, I would say that it's money well spent when considering the work that Mr. Popoli and the behavioral threat assessment team are doing.
I have a question on 22. The first aid CPR instructors. I'm just curious what that is. Are these an external service that is instructing staff?
These are staff members who are compensated for providing mandatory trainings to internal staff members. There's a whole host of staff members that are required to go through regular CPR training, and these are essentially our in-house trainers.
What type of staff members?
All athletic coaches, for example.
On the athletic side?
Yeah, need to be trained. All PE teachers need to be trained, as an example. Principals, as some examples.
It's every year.
Every year. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, wonderful. So on the agenda, the items that we're going to address individually be item number 6, which is a retirement. Item number 9, which is an appointment of a new high school principal, which is big news in this building that we're at here tonight. Also, item 37, which is a monetary donation, which we greatly appreciate at the district. And items 100 through 103, which are exceptionally important non-monetary donations from the PSA. So what I'd like to ask then is if we can have a motion to approve items 1 through 5, pulling 6, including 7 and 8, pulling 9, and including 10 through 36, pulling 37, and moving on from 38 to 99. And then we're pulling 100 to 103, but adding 104 and 105. So with those exceptions, may we have a motion, please?
Second.
Any discussion? May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Wall,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Damari,
Yes.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes.
Dr. Kalor,
Yes.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
Mr. Lemecki,
Yes.
Mrs. LaPresky.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. We're going to skip around a little bit here. Item number 6, acceptance of retirement. Board Member LaPresti, would you be kind enough to read the retirement for Administrative Assistant, Buildings and Grounds, which is item number 6?
Acceptance of retirement administrative assistant buildings and grounds. Whereas Mrs. Noreen Monaghan has served the Holmdel Township Public Schools with distinction since February 28th, 2000. And whereas Mrs. Monaghan has faithfully executed her duties with skill and competency. And whereas Mrs. Monaghan has earned the respect of her colleagues and community residents. And whereas Mrs. Monaghan has submitted a letter announcing her retirement from the Holmdel Township School District effective August 1st, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the Holmdel Township Board of Education accepts Mrs. Monaghan's retirement with deep gratitude for Miss Monaghan's dedication, loyalty, and outstanding services performed and further extend to Ms. Monaghan the best wishes for a happy and healthy retirement.
Thank you very much. May we have a motion, please? Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Mr. Wall,
Yes, congratulations on your retirement.
Mr. Damari,
Yes, thank you for your 24 years of service.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes, congratulations.
Dr. Kalura,
Yes, thank you for your service.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes, thank you for your service.
Mr. Lemecci,
Yes, congratulations. Enjoy.
Mrs. LaPresti.
Yes, congratulations. Enjoy retirement.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Dr. Clore, if you'd be kind enough to read item 37. This is an acceptance of monetary donation from the Holmdel Foundation for Educational Excellence. Item 37.
Acceptance of monetary donation from Holmdel Foundation for Educational Excellence. May it be resolved that the board accept with gratitude monetary donation from the Holmdel Foundation for Educational Excellence in the amount of $39,336.18 to fund the 2024-2025 mini grants as on file in the Office of the Superintendent.
Thank you. May we have a motion, please?
Motion.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Scott, Terrence, I'll say like for years, we've been doing this. I mean, HFEE has been doing this for as long as I've been up here, and it's great because it's like, I don't know how many mini grants a year, but I know they're always like 2,000 to 3,000 or even 4,000. And they really truly help the teachers in every school, whether it's Village, Indian Hills, Sats, and a high school. So I think it's awesome that every year they keep doing it. I mean, $36,000, it's, gives teachers more things to do and just another arm that helps the students in this district. So I'm really appreciative.
Thank you. Any other discussion? A roll call?
Mr. Wall,
Yes, thank you. And thank you to the leadership team at the Holmdel Foundation for Educational Excellence.
Mr. Damari,
Yes, thank you to the HFEE team.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Kalura,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes, thank you for your generosity.
Mr. Lemecci,
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. LaPresti.
Yes, thank you for your continued support.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Board Member Buckley, would you be kind enough to read the item 100, which is acceptance of non-monetary donation from the Village School PSA?
Acceptance of non-monetary donation from the Village School PSA. Resolved that the board accept with gratitude a non-monetary donation from the Village PSA of an all-terrain recess trap rack to be used for recess equipment at a cost not to exceed $618.
Thank you very much. We may have a motion, please.
Motion. Second.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Wall,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Damari,
Yes, thank you to the PSA members.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Kalura,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes, thank you, PSA.
Mr. Lemecci,
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. LaPresti.
Yes, thank you, Village PSA.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And continuing on with Village School PSA Day in Holmdel District, Mr. Lemecci, would you kindly read the next item, which is 101, which is another acceptance of a non-monetary donation from the Village School PSA?
Sure. Acceptance of non-monetary donation from the Village School PSA. Resolved that the board accept with gratitude a non-monetary donation from the Village PSA of math games and activities to be used by the math team at a cost not to exceed $500.
Thank you. Motion, please.
Motion.
Second. Roll call?
Mr. Wall,
Yes, thank you again.
Mr. Damari,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes.
Dr. Kalura, Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
Mr. Lemecci,
Yes.
Mrs. LaPresti.
Yes, thanks again, Village.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Every donation is significant, particularly item 102, which is an acceptance of non-monetary donation from the Village School PSA. Vice President Damari, if you can read this resolution, please.
Yeah, this is an incredible one. Number 102, acceptance of non-monetary donation from the Village School PSA. Resolved that the board accept with gratitude a non-monetary donation from the Village PSA of 10 Promethean interactive boards to be installed in the second grade classrooms at a cost not to exceed $60,300.
Now, that sounds like a monetary value, right? Hats off to Village School PSA. So the resolutions are somewhat nuanced because there is a cost involved, and we really appreciate everything that they're doing. If we can have a motion, please. Second?
Second.
Thank you very much. May I have a roll call?
Mr. Wall,
Thank you again for the incredible work that you're doing on behalf of Holmdel's children. It matters tremendously. Yes.
Mr. Damari,
Yeah, I echo that. Thank you to this team. And if you have a child at Village, you know how hard this group works. And this is just incredible. Thank you so much for what you've done for Village School over the years. Yes.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes, thank you. $70,000 in total is tremendous. So it's awesome.
Dr. Clore,
Yes, thank you for this amazing gift.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes, thank you for your support.
Mr. Lemecchi,
Yes, incredible. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Lepresti.
Yes, absolutely. Having been part of the PSA until I got elected to the board, it was an honor. We did work hard, and they do work really hard. And thanks to all the parents, especially for like Ladies Night Out and Carnival. They're awesome events that raise a lot of money to do things like this.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to round out that 70,000 number, which is actually even more than that, board member and past board president Reddy, would you please read item 103, acceptance of non-monetary donation from the Village School PSA?
Absolutely. Acceptance of non-monetary donation from the Village School PSA. Resolved that the board accept with gratitude a non-monetary donation from the Village PSA of a sound system, or for a sound system, it should say, to be installed on a stage at a Village School at a cost not to exceed $10,000.
Motion, please.
I'll give a motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Wall,
Yes, again, thank you so much. It means a lot.
Mr. Damari,
Yeah, I love this one. Miss Nigro puts on amazing performances. So I guess it's just going to be even better over there. Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes, this is great. Thank you.
Dr. Clore,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Lemecchi,
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Lepresti.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Ms. Nigro, for your continued awesomeness.
Oh, she's
Motion
Right
passes.
there.
Thank you.
Yeah. No more microphones against a laptop for music, right?
Thank you very much. You know, much of a Board of Education agenda over the months and over the years is many folks would not consider it quite riveting, right? But it's incredibly important. And there are certain moments when there are decisions that are made that have tremendous impacts on the health, welfare, safety, and education of the children in this district. And the next vote is one of them. It's exceptionally impactful. And we believe that, and Dr. Cascone, after we have our vote, he's going to share a few words, and then we're going to invite your new high school principal up to share a few words and welcome the community, and we're going to welcome him. It has tremendous impact. And these decisions carry great weight and responsibility, and we take them as such. So with that, I'd like to have a motion for the appointment of, I'm going to. So it's so important. I took my time to get to it. Appointment of the principal for Holmdel High School 2024-2025 school year, approving Michael John Harretts, principal Holmdel High School at the salary indicating in the agenda, effective on or before September 27th through June 30th, 2025. May we have a motion, please?
Motion.
Any discussion from the board? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wall,
Yes, thank you. Welcome aboard.
Mr. Damari,
Welcome to the Holmdel School District. Yes.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes, congrats.
Dr. Clore,
Yes, welcome. Congratulations.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes, welcome.
Mr. Lemecchi,
Yes, welcome. Congratulations.
Mrs. Lepresti.
Yes, congratulations.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Michael John Harretts, new principal, Holmdel High School, 2024. welcome. Come on up, Dr. Cascone. You want to introduce our new principal, and then our principal will share a few words to the community, and then we'll gather for a photograph if your family's here present too. And we'd like to thank your family as well. Well, welcome, Nathaniel. Very good. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Cascone.
Thank you, President Wall. Yeah, so it was a relatively expeditious process, but extremely diligent, and very confident in who the board has appointed this evening. Dr. Harretts is cut out of the cloth that we look for in our leadership team. A servant leader, accessible, visible, student-centered, community-centered, and brings a wealth of diverse experiences, both by grade level as also different types of districts, which I think gives him a really well-rounded and unique perspective to come on board and continue the good work that is already happening. So, Dr. Harretts, welcome, congratulations, and the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Cascone, and thank you, board. I'm very excited to begin my time here with Holmdel and work with not only you, but also our staff, students, and our families. And like Dr. Cascone said, to just continue what the great things that have been going on here in Holmdel for so long. And I look forward to nurturing those relationships with everyone, getting to know each one of our students as well as their families and the staff members and being their support for them. So again, thank you all so much. And I'm very excited to get started. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right. So if the board can come up, we're going to do a quick photograph, and Nathaniel, come on up as well. Okay. Thank you again, and congratulations to our new principal. And it's also nice to have our union leadership here as well, working together. We dovetail together our efforts on behalf of the children and families in Holmdel Township. Thank you very much. Thank you again. Welcome. Next item is old business. Any old business from the board?
No, I had a question. We went over nutrition and chart wells and some suggestions we had, and we said we will start implementing them for the new school year. I wonder if we can have a meeting maybe before the school year starts and see what we're going to do.
Dr. Cascone?
Yes, thank you, Doctor. Thank you for putting that back on the radar. We absolutely can set up something this summer for sure. Make a note of it and make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hey,
Dr. Fleur.
Terrence, I just wanted to say, you mentioned you did a nice moment of silence for Rich Radcliffe. So for years that people don't know, Rich was the custodian for this school. And for years when we used to have our meeting down the hall in the old science or wherever the heck we had it, he was here every time for years and years and years. It was like his second career, and he got sick so quick. And literally I found, I think last Tuesday after the graduation, I think one of the custodians, Todd, was like, "Oh yeah, Rich passed away today." So super sad, and just thinks that the guy who gave so much time didn't get a chance to retire and things like this. So I just thanks for acknowledging him. And he's a great guy, and really always did well for us, and always, did well for the school and for the students here.
I would echo that, Peter, and share that Mr. Radcliffe is a gem to the community. And my interactions with him, always friendly, always kind. And, I was the board member who's no cake, no food. Let's get work done. he was always such a gentleman and just really had things set up perfectly. And if the folks that are running buildings and grounds, custodial staff, if they stop, this district stops, period. It's really, there's such an important part of the team. And his spirit will be missed because he's really, truly a special person. And folks should emulate his character. We will miss him, and our condolences to his family and all his dear friends that know him even so much better than we do in the district. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you. So any other items from the board under old business? Hearing none, we'll move to new business. Any items that board members have under new business?
I was going to say, I sent an email to Terrence and Scott the other day that if everyone hasn't read it, there was a school in Jackson that's closing. So the reason I bring it up is it's, I wonder around this state if that's going to be the only school. Obviously, I know the budget shortfalls we have a pilot program that could give us a lot of relief, down the road. But, seeing a school close, you don't see that very often. And I think Jackson's like 12 or 14 schools. I forget how, it's a large district, but 300, a whole bunch of employees are not going back to work, or they're going to roll them into other schools, but it totally dishevels a whole school. I think it's like 500 something kids in that school that they're closing, but literally like overnight, it wasn't even planned. Like all of a sudden they just can't make the math add up. So, I look at our dish budget and always get worried. Obviously I know we've, taken from bank cap the last couple of years, and that bucket's running out of money. So, it's just boarded up, and it's like, it's close to home. I mean, Jackson's not very far away. I mean, Terrence, you live, administrator in, Jackson Township. So I'm sure that's a pretty hot topic right now. So I just wanted to bring it up if the rest of the board hadn't seen that story.
That in the middle of the school year? Oh, it's also.
Yeah, September, they got to find a new school.
Oh, you said, okay, all right, all right.
They had a few different elementary schools. They had to close one of their elementary schools and let go about 70 teachers.
It's an issue obviously across the state. And some districts were impacted significantly this past state aid year. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but Mike and his team, Dr. Cascone, has done a good job over the years based on my, limited experience at this point, in kind of managing the money and expenses and that kind of thing. But we're still in the process of gathering kind of that historical data just so we can take a look to the future and see, efficiencies, identify any additional efficiencies and things that make sense to, with all of the stuff that's happening across the state in different districts. So, but it's just something to be mindful about. We're not going to be immune to issues, right? But we've got to do what we can to manage it. So thank you, Mike and crew.
Yeah, and I appreciate your efforts this year as the budget and finance chair, because we do need to take this proactive approach to gather data to better understand, where we've been and where we're headed, and have these difficult conversations. Since I've been on the board now, this is second budget, but I said it the first time around last year that we're either making difficult decisions today or in the future, and we need to continue to prepare for the future. So we will, there'll be more difficult conversations to have. So I hope the community appreciates that. We're doing all we can to make sure that something like that doesn't happen at Holmdel. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll mention two brief things. One, the funding formulas, S2 is one of the most functionally incompetent formulas that most folks in Trenton, I don't think understand. They don't understand the formula. So it'll continue to be destructive in many districts of all demographics and every area. And I think it just if any objective view of what's happening shows that that there's just a level of incompetence that they need to work through, own it, and fix. And that's impacting districts across the state. And when it hits districts with a vengeance, Trenton, the phone is not answered. It's not answered. So you're starting to see the concerns that are expressed by different districts: lay off 70 teachers, close schools, and the calls are still not answered. So it's my opinion based on a lot of data, that it's just a level of incompetence. And I don't know if you can fix that. I really don't. So we need to be mindful of what's happening in our district. Our aid went up, right? So other districts are being destroyed with no return calls. And apparently what seems to be no caring at all from Trenton, both sides. But individuals are trying, different legislators are trying to fix things, we should say. But that's going to impact our district, and maybe next year, maybe the year after. But there are pieces that we can control, that we can't control, but we could have some impact. One is to get educated. And it wouldn't take much for us to be more educated than the folks that are involved in voting on this stuff. But the other piece, and I started talking to some legislators, just putting it out there, the pilot laws need to change. We've talked about it more than enough times. There are legislators, senators, and assembly folks that I've spoken to that are actively interested in changing the legislation to put the school districts back in the calculations. So more to come on that. But failing discussions that result in fruitful resolutions, that's when you seek legislative changes. So there are folks that are listening, and there are different legislators up in North Jersey who have already put legislation out there. So this is not, it's not a local topic, it's a statewide topic, because school districts are being financially destroyed by pilots. And you only notice it over time. So not to belabor the math here, we've talked about it before, but hopefully I'll be able to report out more progress and with legislation introduced that puts the school districts back in the calculations, because from my own perspective, we can have no more pilots in this district without significantly impacting the finances. And hopefully we don't get to that point, but I just want to share that. So more to come on legislative initiatives on
Quick note as well.
I'm sorry?
No, quick note as well, to follow up to what you're saying.
Sure, yeah.
The feedback sometimes you get from community members is the frustration that 68% of our tax dollars goes to the school budget. Being involved in two budgets now, I realize how costly it is to run a school, and that typically the expenses are only going up. We see the inflation going on in the world today. But this Holmdel School District is the backbone of this small town we live in. If you ask people why they moved to Holmdel, you don't hear anything else but to send my kids to the Holmdel School District. So I do hope that people in the community who get frustrated by the budget going up and will recognize what's going on throughout the state and feel confident that we are recognizing it as board members and doing everything we can. And also the same when we have to discuss and make difficult decisions that we didn't join the board to make these decisions, but we feel we're doing what's right for our community to keep this school district running strong. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just along those lines, one of the items that you're seeing a lot of the districts cut is courtesy busing. And that's really a third rail, courtesy busing. It's very important to families. We do need to get the hazardous study from the municipality, though, at the 2 mile and the 2.5 mile mark, because it's a municipal responsibility for the crossing guards and the sidewalk and the access for children to be able to, if this financial destructive effect starts actually coming here, well, we need to plan now for then. So if you map out 2 miles and there are hazardous routes for children, they're going to need to be fixed. Town's going to need to put in sidewalks. They're going to have to figure all that out and start budgeting for crossing guards and other types of means and methods for children to safely get to school if courtesy busing becomes an item that can no longer be funded. The reason I have this conversation now is to avoid that issue completely. That's why the conversations are over as far as trying to resolve it locally. The legislators that I'm speaking to, I think they're going to, hopefully in short order, put legislation in to change that, because we need to get ahead of the next pilot, which I don't think we should have them in Holmdel anymore. I don't think you need them in areas that are developable. So from what I've seen historically in running municipalities, I don't think you need it here. But we need to plan for it. And the way to cure that is legislatively, I think, at this point. So more to come on that. Any other new business items from the board? Well, thank you. Thank you for that. So now we are at Item 2, the second public comment period. This is for any item that's on your mind for questions or comments from the public. Feel free to take the mic and welcome. Welcome, Mr. Logren.
Good evening. Bill Lochran, retired Holmdel educator. I just want to take a moment to congratulate Mrs. Monaghan on her retirement. She spent several years in the high school main office, and she was a pleasure to work with. And I and many others wish her a happy and healthy retirement. I also ask that the board would take a moment to, and the community, to take a moment to honor the memory of Mrs. Doreen Cotticelli, a longtime member of the child study team, who, upon her retirement, fell into illness, suffered from a long illness for a very long time, passed away on Monday, is at peace now, and her services will be next week. And I and many others want to remember her fondly. She was a great, great advocate for our students in the special needs community. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that information and our condolences to the families. We appreciate that information. Thank you. Yes.
Hi. Hello, my name is Dr. Svilana Yedrstein. I am a mother of a rising 7th grader and a rising 12th grader. I stand before you here today to address a grave issue, a cancer that is metastasizing globally all over the world. We're not immune to it in our small district, in our small community of Holmdel. That is called anti-Semitism. Over the past 8 months, we have witnessed disturbing incidents in Holmdel, which we have raised to the Board of Ed and to Dr. Kescohen and have had several conversations on these topics. Some of the things we've seen are swastikas in the bathrooms at Indian Hill, anti-Semitic comments aimed at Jewish students, such as Hitler should have killed all of you, or all Jews should go to Israel and die. All of these are offensive. There have been photos posted on social media by our students that say things like, I love Hitler. Recently, students have worn Free Palestine keffiyehs or guards or shawls at National Honor Society ceremony, at the senior walk, as well as most recently, the graduation. These items are not merely pieces of clothing. They are actually political statements that symbolize the eradication of Israel and Jews. These are deeply hurtful, deeply disrespectful, and offensive. While everyone should be entitled to their personal political view, celebratory events at school are not the appropriate venue for such divisive political expressions. Based on that, we come to you with an ask of 5 things. Nothing new, nothing we haven't talked about, nothing we haven't written to you before. 1, much stricter consequences for anti-Semitic behaviors and aggressions, microaggressions in particular. Number 2, as you revise the curriculum over the summer, which we've had conversations about and we know there's a commitment to do, thank you for doing that. We ask that you focus on teaching critical thinking skills to enable our students to be able to differentiate between fact and fiction, propaganda and research-based data, which I don't know that many of our students do because they're so glued to social media, Instagram and TikTok, and they see that as their main source of information. They see that as fact and reality. I don't know that it is, and I don't know that that's how we want them thinking. Number 3, ensuring that the school meets all aspects of the New Jersey mandate for Holocaust studies across all grades. This should include impactful experiential activities that really resonate and sit with them and leave an impression with them, like the amazing change trip that the 8th graders do right now. That should be across all grades and all students. We want to make sure that individual students understand not just the history of the Holocaust and the atrocities that were committed, but also the origins and understanding the role of propaganda that the Nazi regime used very impactfully that ultimately led to the death of 6 million Jews, including my own aunts and uncles in Kiev and Babi Yar, Ukraine. Number 4, providing training on recognizing and addressing anti-Semitism, not only for leadership, which I know has happened and is amazing, but also for all teachers, staff, and students. And number 5, greater cultural sensitivity training to ensure that all and any hate-related crimes do not show up in our schools so that all students feel safe to learn. Now, why is this so important? We've had conversations. We're now here in person because this is getting bigger. It's continuing to spiral out of control. And every time I see and read the news, my hair stands up and I want to cry. But why does it matter for us here right now? Because the Jewish community is deeply concerned. Because parents are contemplating transferring their children out of Holmdel schools into private schools. Because parents are reaching out, thinking, wanting to move to Holmdel because of Holmdel pride, because of the reputation that the Holmdel schools have, and they're rethinking those decisions. They're reaching out to parents, and we're being honest around what's happening, and they're thinking twice about it. And I don't think that's what we want. Our children are the leaders of the future, yet they're heavily influenced by social media, often following trends without understanding or questioning their significance. This situation is alarmingly reminiscent of 1933, early 1930s, Europe, Germany. And as a Jewish person, that is profoundly frightening. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Would you like to come up? Yep, you're welcome. Thank you. And we appreciate your strength in coming and sharing your comments today. And I think it may be similar comments. We want to hear them because Dr. Cascone is also going to respond, but we want to hear all of your comments together. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Cascone and the board. My name is Alona Dector, and I am a very proud Holmdel School parent and now a graduate mom and a proud member of the Holmdel community. When I relocated from New York City nearly 7 years ago, I chose Holmdel for my family because of Holmdel's outstanding reputation in academic excellence and its tight-knit and supportive and welcoming community, and which it still very much is. In the past 8 months, the world has experienced so much pain and turmoil and violence, and I am saddened to say that our beloved Holmdel schools have not been immune to the pervasive, ugly, and frightening rise in anti-Semitism. And I won't go over some of the specific items as Svetlana has already done that. The most recent event was one that affected my children and my family quite personally. On one of the most special, proud, and important days of my son's life, his high school graduation, my parents, who are refugees from Eastern Europe, escaping anti-Semitism, children of Holocaust victims and survivors, were present at this graduation. And my son and many other students, both Jewish and non-Jewish friends of his, as well as many family members and spectators, were horrified at what they saw. With shock and disbelief, we saw several students walk across the stage wearing keffiyehs and Free Palestine shawls. The keffiyeh is a symbol of revolt and has become a form of provocation and backing of terrorism. The words Free Palestine are a call for the eradication of Israel and the Jewish people worldwide. How were these students permitted to walk in graduation in America with symbols that have become synonymous with anti-Israel, anti-Western, and anti-American values? The values that we, the Holmdel community, value, share, and take pride in. Both Jewish and non-Jewish students and parents were horrified, saddened, and angered that this occurred, and with no repercussions and no consequences. There is no place for anti-Semitism. There is no place for bigotry. There is no place for anti-American rhetoric. There is no place for terrorist support. And there is no place for hate speech and symbols in Holmdel schools and in our community. This is a town full of American pride, multicultural pride, peace, and coexistence. And we would love to keep it that way. We cannot and should not allow our children to experience this or to become radicalized, because as history has shown, it begins with anti-Semitism, but it never ends there. Dr. Cascone and the board, I urge you to make this a priority topic for next year and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. We appreciate them. Yes, mic is yours. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Education members and Dr. Cascone. My name is Margarita Borokov, address for the summit, and I am the parent of 3 children in the Holmdel School District. One entering 7th grade, a boy entering 10th grade, and a graduate from 2023. I'm here tonight to express my deep concern about the rise of anti-Semitic incidents within our schools over the past 8 months. As a parent, it is deeply unsettling to see the school environment, which should be a place of safety and learning, become a stage for acts of hate and discrimination. Recently, we have experienced numerous incidents that have shaken our community. And unfortunately, you will hear a few of the, examples that have been brought by Svetlana. Swastikas have been drawn in elementary school bathrooms. Students have made horrifying comments in the lunchroom of this very school, saying all Jews should go back to Israel and die. My son heard that personally. Additionally, images glorifying Hitler have been posted on social media by our students. These are not just isolated incidents, but part of a whole broader and disturbing trend. This issue is not limited to Holmdel. We are not isolated. At Manalapan High School, a student wore a stole reminiscent. There was one student at the graduation that wore a stole reminiscent of the October 7th attack during the graduation ceremony, prompting an immediate and apologetic response from the principal. This shows that anti-Semitism is not only a local issue, but a pervasive problem affecting many communities. In our own district, the recent display of Free Palestine shawls and keffiyehs at events like the National Honor Society ceremony, the senior walk, the graduation, is a particularly concerning event. While everyone has a right to their views, these garments carry heavy political implications that are deeply hurtful to the Jewish community. Such statements should not overshadow celebratory school events and contribute to a hostile environment. The fear and anxiety these incidents instill in our children are profound. As a mother, I am terrified for their safety and emotional well-being. No child should have to endure such hostility, and no parent should have to worry about their child's safety because of their cultural or religious identity. I stand before you tonight to urge the Board of Education to take immediate and decisive action to address these issues. Our children deserve to learn in an environment free of hate and discrimination. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that our schools are safe, inclusive spaces where every student can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time tonight. Rabbi, would you like to come speak? You're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Rabbi Galperin from Chabad Center in Holmdel.
Welcome.
So I applaud the three moms that came up. It's not easy to speak in public, but I do have to say that with the calls that I get when they wanted to move to Holmdel is there a Jewish center? And how is the school system? So I'm like, oh, we don't have a Jewish school. No, how is the public school Jewish system? And I'm like, it's really, really good. But unfortunately, it has taken a turn. Some things can be de-escalated, and I worked within the board, or I remember working on a particular incident with Mike Sokol, of blessed memory, where we were able to diffuse something, and it really was diffused. But these things are clearly an issue that we have to deal with, especially for the families, at least the Jewish community in Holmdel. A number of them are leaving the former Soviet Union, where persecution and observance of religion was not allowed. And how are they coming to a free country in America, and now their children are subjugated to those speeches of hate, and it makes them feel really uncomfortable. It makes them scared, and doesn't help by amplifying the social media that they listen to all the time. But as parents and educators, our job is to teach our children. Staff teaches, the teachers and the parents themselves teach the children. Hate is not one of those things you want to teach. So we're going to stamp it out and eradicate it to make it peaceful and welcoming. Kids have a hard time learning as it is, paying attention to a teacher, but to come to school thinking that someone's going to say something to them because of their nationality, because of who they are, that has to stop. That has to be eradicated. So I applaud the moms that came, and I appreciate all your hard work, and I look forward to continue working with the board and Dr. Cascone and everything that can move forward. And I'm looking forward to hear resolutions from you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. It's always great to see you. And I want to thank the The ladies who came up and spoke, your strength on behalf of yourself, your family, and your community is incredibly important. And it's also wonderful that you're streaming live. Folks can hear the message. They can take it into their homes. They can take it into their neighborhoods and respond and react to it. Simply put, hate has no home in Holmdel, period. Holmdel is a welcoming community. It's a diverse community that includes everyone and treats everyone fairly, and that's the goal. There is the frailty of the human condition, unfortunately, but that's what the board and administrative folks, that's what we're here for, to make sure that we don't just have guidelines, don't just have rules and regulations, but they're followed. There's no point in a policy if you don't follow it. And over the years, that have been policies in relation to different types of issues that weren't followed very thoughtfully. And having good, sound leadership, that's how you get to where that is. I can share with you that the board, so hate has no home in Holmdel, period. And everyone's listening. And the students need to listen. And the parents need to listen. And I think they are. As far as the Board of Education, the operational aspects of graduations, we're not involved in that piece. So each individual board member may have their own thoughts of some of those individual comments and the visual disturbance that impacted students. So that operational piece is just, it's not of the board. Although I regret that any student was made to feel uncomfortable during a graduation. It's tremendously unfortunate. And if we make that a learning experience moving forward, as you had referenced, for the future, well, that's an objective that live starting now. But I think in a moment, Dr. Cascone is going to share a few thoughts that the now actually has been ongoing, that I think you'll leave here with a great deal of comfort that this community is a wonderful community to live, work, and raise a family. I'll also share with you that the timing is exquisite. The new principal of Holmdel High School is here. The next graduation will be run by this gentleman. So it's a wonderful time to meet part of the new leadership team. So he's hearing, you just got appointed, right? So with that, I'd like to ask Dr. Cascone to, well, are there any other comments from the public? Just because we're going to stay with this topic for a moment. No, I'm sorry, for the public in the audience. All right, so what I want to do is move it to Dr. Cascone to share his views, and also the board member, Vice President Damari, or other board members may want to share thoughts and guidance on this very important topic. So with that, Dr. Cascone, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Thank you, President Wall. And thank you for coming tonight. Of course, I know all of you. I don't know all the parents in Holmdel, but I do know you just by virtue of our conversations and meetings and dialogue over the course of the year, which I truly know has been constructive for us. I think it's led to us, with some introspection, some actions that we've taken. It's sort of catalyzed some of those things. So it has been I would argue, a fruitful collaboration. A couple of things I've learned are not to, sort of homogenize different groups' concerns about biases towards them, right? Let's not put them together. Everyone is distinct. Every experience is distinct. And we, as educators in an educational environment, we operate and lead in very complex times. I can say, and I will say, and I will stand behind the statement, that our schools, in I would argue juxtaposition to the environments outside of our schools, remain some of the more orderly environments where there are rules, right? There are boundaries, there are consequences, there is accountability, where we are actively, in addition to our primary mission of academics, adopting a mission side by side with that, which is working on developing shared values and norms. We expect our students, we try and inspire and motivate our students to live according to those values and norms, but we only have them, 6 or 7 hours a day, which is a fraction of the time of their overall life and probably a fraction of the time that they spend on social media. So, we encounter from time to time, incidences where our students exercise poor judgment. And sometimes there are times when it has been anti-Semitic comments. It's sometimes when it's been racist, sometimes when it's been homophobic. And not to homogenize those things. Each of them is its own entity with its own histories and feelings and realities. But yes, there are times when those behaviors find their ways into our schools in spite of our, I don't want to say best efforts, because I think what I've learned through this is we can always get better and we can always do more. But we are but one institution within our society with a lot of resources, but still limited resources, and with a primary mission for which we are held highly accountable of providing our students with a top-notch education and preparing them for post-secondary success. So we have to balance that. I do feel obliged by virtue of some of the assertions which were made in public to provide some counter perspective. I would really hate for anyone who I should say, let me re-choose my words. I think it would be unfortunate for anyone who was viewing this meeting to come away with the definitive idea that we have a rampant anti-Semitic problem in Holmdel schools. I don't believe that. And I don't believe it because it's not what I see. And I'm in the schools every day. I also review every one of our HIB complaints. I'm in the loop on every disciplinary infraction. And while we do have, disciplinary infractions, a relatively small number of them. And yes, one is too many. And we aspire to create an environment where there are zero. But that is becoming an increasingly complex mission when the world outside of schools is becoming increasingly conflicted, increasingly divisive, increasingly biased. That becomes more complex every day. We don't shrink from that mission, but I think it's important to acknowledge the complexity of that. But just to speak a little bit to some of these incidents, I am aware of three reported incidents this year of anti-Semitism. One was the swastika, which was found scrawled on the stall inside of a bathroom. One of them was by anti-Semitic speech that was directed from one middle school student to another. And I do think it is worth noting, not that it justifies it or makes it any better, but I think it does contextualize it that one of the students was of at least partial Jewish origin. So it was Jewish on Jewish bias. And the third was the more recent one where we had a student basically alter an image of another student and with a number of really egregious tropes, not all anti-Semitic. There was racist tropes in there was homophobic tropes, there was anti-Semitic tropes. In one thing is consistent in all three of those cases. The behavior was identified quickly, it was addressed quickly, and it was addressed according to the Student Code of Conduct. That being said, I absolutely made note of this idea of stricter consequences. And I think even some of Dr. Kalura, sometimes when we're discussing these bullying cases in closed session, you've noted, talking about the discipline and should the discipline be more stringent. So that it is something when it comes to hate speech. Anything that's hate speech is reported to the police, which is then consequently reported to the county prosecutor. Now, if they decide to do anything with it, that is up to them. But every one of those gets reported to the local authorities as well as to the county prosecutor. Some of the things that I think constructive things that have come out of our dialogue were what we were noticing is that students are demonstrating behavior sooner, way earlier than they used to, right? And as you noted, the Standing Up to Intolerance course, which we have in 8th grade, in which the vast majority of our students take, perhaps when that class first came into being, maybe 8th grade was an appropriate time to introduce students to that kind of curriculum. But I think what we realized this year is we need to do that sooner. And so we are. And so this summer, we're engaging in a curriculum writing project for 5th grade, where I'm kind of calling it like a Standing Up to Intolerance light. So it's going to be sort of a mini unit that's implemented in all the social studies classes to 5th grade to give students that perspective sooner. And as you mentioned, we also are reviewing our K-12, how we're in alignment with the K-12 Holocaust mandate. And yes, I think is that curriculum as impactful as it can be? Are we building in outside speakers? Are we building in field trips? So it resonates more with our students, and particularly when they're younger, have more of an impact. So that's in the works as well. We are as alarmed by this behavior as I shouldn't say that. We understand that it is different for people of Jewish faith, but we are as a non-Jewish man, I am as alarmed as anyone by it. As I am by a number of things I see students doing in increasing frequency. And we will continue to do that. I can't promise you that, that there won't be any further incidents, because that would be able to predict other people's behavior, right? But what I will tell you is that we will continue to address it swiftly. We will continue to try and be as proactive as we can to prevent it. And I do believe that it's by coming and engaging in this dialogue with us that keeps us sharp, keeps us motivated. And I am looking forward to continuing that dialogue. I envision this being a dialogue that we continue, and perhaps I can offer an opportunity to reconvene during the summer to give you an update on where we are. I've also been very appreciative of the resources that you've shared with us. You've been a tremendous help in that regard. It's definitely helped to inform and guide our work. So thank you. With respect to the articles that were worn during graduation, I would just ask if our Mr. Trent, our board attorney, could advise in terms of what legal latitude a district or building administration would have to prohibit that.
Sure. So to the extent that the speech could be viewed political in some way, it's a high standard for the district to be able to discipline based on that. The Tinker v. Des Moines Supreme Court case, 1970s, I think is kind of on point. There it was students wearing black armbands trying to protest whatever war was in fact, Vietnam, I guess it was at the time. And it went up all the way to the Supreme Court, and it was found that the only circumstance where a school district could discipline in that is with a showing of a substantial disruption occurring from the speech. So if it's silent, as offensive as it may be to many, it's a high burden to impose discipline, even if the district wanted to. So just be apprised of that. So everything's obviously case by case, and we can't speak about specific students that may or may not be disciplined, but generally speaking, silent demonstrative type speech that could be construed as political or viewpoint in a particular way is a difficult burden for the district to sustain discipline on.
Staying on this topic, and Vice President DeMario wants to share a few words. We're towards the end of the agenda, where when we adjourn, we'll be here. We could speak afterwards as well. I'm just sharing that with you too. Chris, did you want to share a few thoughts?
Just wanted to share some comments, because I do appreciate that you came up and spoke publicly. And I know how difficult that is, and I appreciate your courage and all the emails that we have received. We do want to hear from our community, so this is very important, and not every time people do take an opportunity to reach out. So coming to the meeting is important, and I wanted to stress that you're definitely being heard. I've been in Holmdel my whole life, and I have always appreciated and respect the diversity in our vibrant town. And I certainly feel that every student that enters these halls deserves a safe and productive environment to learn. And I feel confident that what I've seen out of the rest of these board members, that they all feel the same. Thank you for sharing those stories. I emphasize with the students, and I think it was just unfortunate experiences. And I just wanted to provide my feedback from what I've seen out of the administration. When we hear of these situations arise, I've seen the administration take them very serious. They're spoken about at length. I'm familiar with how much time Dr. Cascone has put in meeting and learning. We're all learning through this. So I believe they are working very hard. Now, Dr. Cascone made a great point that behavior is unpredictable and a lot of it's uncontrollable. And if we can keep these kids off Snapchat and TikTok, It's a great message for every parent in this community. It's just terrible what it's rotting these kids' minds and feeding them with a lot of misinformation. But unfortunately, some of it is out of our control. But I did want to really stress that I'm confident in the administration that they're going to continue to listen and be as proactive as possible. And I appreciate how reactive they've been with consequences. And also what's important in all this, and I say this with all HIP cases, is to treat this as a learning experience for all students involved. A lot of times I feel that these students are young and kids make mistakes and they see things that they don't recognize are very hurtful. And we need to be leaders and adults to teach these children that what they're doing is wrong and the effects that they have. And this goes for any sort of racial bias, religion, anything that could hurt a student. So we will continue listening and learning and communicating and doing our best job here for all these students. Okay. So for any student listening out there, we've got your back and we want you to come to the school and feel confident that you can come here and have a very positive experience. And if something does come up, we'll always be here to listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Religious bias of any type, it's not just a zero tolerance policy on paper. I believe it's collectively in the hearts and minds of the board and the administrative staff and faculty, without question. Dr. Kluwer?
Yeah. The committee members made very good points, but one point that stood out from what one parent said, and we might take this, is maybe a course or a speaker related course or something on how to distinguish between propaganda that is propagated by social media, how to distinguish that between more in-depth investigative news, how to distinguish between facts and propaganda, particularly related to social media. I think that would be good for adults too, for that matter. But children, if you can be like a course or a speaker that just in an unbiased way, that would help with many things, I think.
I would say for the July meeting, sorry, Dr. Cascone, can we just collate for the board what we are doing and some of the other opportunities so the board can have some time to digest what's planned for September? First, so parents and students know what we are already doing. And then if there are further enhancements, that way you can get some feedback from the board and the folks that are working on curriculum to the point that Dr. Kluwer just made, and perhaps have something for whether July or August as we start ramping up, and then we could communicate that out if there are enhancements, but also for folks to understand the baseline of the things that are done already and done successfully, and then where it builds from there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you finish, Dr. Kluwer? Okay. Any other board members on this particular topic? Then we're going to open it back up to the public, and then we're going to adjourn from there. All right. Thank you. So what I'd like to do then, thank you. Open it back up to the public. It's still open to the public, of course. If any member of the public has a question or concern on any issue at all, the microphone is yours. Please come on up. Seeing none, I want to thank everyone for being here today. Particularly the parents. It's really, really important that you're engaged in the community because that helps inform the decisions that are made at the board level and also the administration folks. And we have committee of the whole style meetings. So we have 2 meetings a month. They're both open to the public. The committee of the whole meeting is also a workshop type meeting. So please come and invite your friends. If they can't make it, to stream online. And Rabbi, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you here. So if there are any other items, no other items, we don't have an executive session. I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being here and have a wonderful evening.